Welcome back. In this session, we'll be talking a little bit about how to build a roadmap for your project to understand how it is actually going to hit the real world and turn into the action that we're looking for. We'll talk a little bit about some resources that we have available to help define that roadmap and understand what it's going to look like when this project starts to activate. One thing that we encounter almost every time we talk about this project planning is that forecasting a project is challenging, and imagining what those pathways forward are going to look like can be very difficult. One tool that we often recommend is to look at it in reverse, to imagine what that forecasting might look like if we flipped the lens around and looked at it from the perspective of a project in the future as it happens, looking back at the pathways that got us here. As we do that, we can see things that we might not be able to see from our current vantage point and understand how the systems that we put into place can be brought to bear and activated in a timely, safe, and effective manner. When thinking about this, an example might be for a workshop. While we're doing this reverse forecasting, we look at the workshop as it happens. Imagine the space. How did people get there? How did they find out about it? Who is emceeing or facilitating the session? How did they register? We back it up 1 week before. How did they find out about it? What did transit look like? Where were registrations processed? Who was advertising it, and where were those advertisements placed? Imagine it 3 weeks before that. We're now at a month before. How did we engage our facilitators? Were we invoiced? Did we pay them up front? Were they people that we knew? Where did we find the space? How did we access the location? Did we have a rental agreement for it? Is our space insured? How are people going to get to it? Imagine that even before. Now we're maybe 3 months before. The runway's quite long in this project. Who's making decisions about this project? What does our team look like? How did we make the decision to hire the people that we did? How did we make the decision to advertise where we did? What informed the process that guided us to that location? Oftentimes, film writers will use a similar process where you imagine the ending and work backwards from there. And this process helps us understand, again, what is our mandate? What's the end goal? And what are the operations going to look like that bring us there? We've been using this process from the start, and now we're going to apply it to the project planning and execution aspect as we understand what our project is going to look like upon completion and what is each stage that is necessary to get us there in the best possible way. While we're working through this stage, I encourage you to look back at your blue skies and gray days processes. Look back at your resource maps, your operations plans, and your mandate statement that you created at the beginning of this, and understand that each of those was built so that you can inform this process with the most perspective and the most competency possible. Those things may change. Understand they are forever to be dynamic documents because the real world will always change as your project evolves too. But that mandate is there to guide you throughout all of this, and using that to understand what your project looks like upon completion is going to be the most important part of this. As you move forward to the next step, imagine everything that happened just before that. Itemize the steps that it took to get you there. Itemize the resources that will need to be expended or called into action to bring you to that place, and move closer and closer to the present from there. As each step goes, you may find yourself adding or subtracting certain resources, reallocating lines in your budget, or slowly shifting your operations. You may realize that there are decisions that may need to be made that you didn't account for in your original operations plan. Edit those, understand who is going to be able to help support those, what's going to be needed, and that this project plan is ultimately going to be your roadmap, built in reverse to guide you to where you need to be. As you think about this, it can be intimidating. We encourage you sometimes to flip that lens, go back to the present, and imagine your pathways forward. If looking back from the future success leads you to a dead end, look back from the present and look forward. Find your pathways, and eventually you will get to where they meet up. It can help to whiteboard this as well. Map out what you have now, map out what you have at the end point, and draw lines between it. If visual representation is not your style, find other people who have succeeded at similar projects and what their project plans look like. This stage can involve a lot of interviews, it can involve a lot of drafting, and understanding that this stage is here to help you understand how your unique project moves forward doesn't mean that you can't call upon the expertise of the hundreds to thousands of people who have done similar things before you. You may find that you need additional tools for this too. If you're looking for more support, we have workbooks available on our website. If you go to risingyouth.ca, you can find our Take Action Guide. It's a free PDF, and it's designed as a workbook for anybody who's developing a project from stage 1, where you say, I want to do something in my community, all the way up to the point of execution, which is just after where we are now. This workbook is designed to be downloaded, accessed for free, remixed, mashed up, taken apart. You can use it in the ways that suit you. But building these project canvases and using these tools is going to be key to understanding what your pathways forward are going to be. As you move through these, you're going to understand that the map that you are building is unique to you and unique to your project, but will also be able to inform those who come after you as they build their own projects. At this point, documenting can be very important too, especially in a multiple contributor project, where many people are bringing their ideas and skills to bear, understanding how you share this knowledge. Finding resources where you can share this knowledge can be very, very crucial to ensuring that good communication happens and that your project moves forward at an adequate pace. Again, using these workbooks, using these guides can be a great place to house this information. I urge you to consider where you're housing this information, how other people are going to learn from it, and what you are going to be doing to preserve that knowledge so that other people can succeed after you as you move forward on your own community change journey.